Yo, what's good, man? It's the East Child Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy, back here with our next special guest in the building. Like I always say, man, I'm going to continue to work so hard to bring amazing guests on this show and guests who are in different career paths in life, guests who have different life experiences that can teach you guys certain things and just to sit down and have a conversation with them. And this special guest that I have here today, she has been in the school board for a very long time. She's been working hard to help school systems, to help students, to help the Buffalo, west side of Buffalo. And it was an honor to have her here today. And we're going to sit down and have some questions for her because, as you know, in Buffalo, it's election month. But yeah, I just want to, before she even introduces herself, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And how are you today?
I'm good. I'm Jen Mecozzi. I am currently the West District School Board member for the Buffalo Public Schools. I'm also a parent and a grandparent of students in the schools, and my youngest daughter, is a teacher. So, before the title, I'm a leader in the community. Have been for quite a while. Worked to help build the West Side, and worked with our families to create better systems.
Before we even started this, though, you said you've been in the West Side for a very long time.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So, born and raised in the West Side. I 54. I'm not afraid to say how old I am because it means I'm seasoned. But I also, went to school on the West Side, graduated 8th grade from School 77, which is now part of the work that, I was part of to help build into the senior housing and the space that it is now with Push Buffalo. Was president of Push, organizing director, and worked with many, many of our leaders to bring programs like the Grant Street Neighborhood Center, like this building that houses seniors, developing affordable housing, working in a progressive way to bring community to the table. Consistent trips to DC every year to make sure we talk to the people who make decisions and we let them know in the busload, what we need. So there's a lot of advocacy. There's a lot of work I've done. And, I'm not just here to talk about that. My experience, my lived experience on the West Side is definitely bring a lot of knowledge as to what we need,
Right.
how it's changed. I also, if anybody knows how the West Side kind of came to be where it is now, we had, there were different pockets of the West Side that held different, different cultures.
Mm.
And when in the early 80s, right around the time I had graduated high school, elementary school, there was almost, it seemed like a mass exodus of folks leaving their homes and moving into other parts, most North Buffalo. It was a majority Italian culture that moved. My last name is Mecozzi. I grew up Italian. I grew up with my father. And some folks had moved out of the city, and we were one of them. We moved to Angola, and I went to high school in Angola, New York, to Lakeshore. And I was able to see, and what I bring to the table is firsthand experience of what a suburban district offers students, even way back when, in the 80s, and how funds are allocated, and just the difference. My father was very strategic. It bothered me a lot. I now get it. He held me back in 9th grade. I went to Grover for a year. And then when we went and moved to Angola, he said, you're going to repeat 9th grade because the curriculum is different, and I feel like you might not be able to pass 10th grade. And he actually was right. Our 6th grade science, or our 9th grade science at the time was Lakeshore's 6th grade science.
Mm.
So, I experienced that firsthand.
I want to ask you this question because you mentioned something about your father saying held you back in 9th grade. how was the curriculum back then though? Like at your time, like when you was going in the Buffalo public school system, because here today, one conversation I was having with a couple people is that we take a lot of Regents exams, and a lot of those Regents exams are somehow a problem to so many different kids because you're having to take 5 exams all at once, and sometimes I don't think some exams you really need to take them, and then some kids it really affect them from passing or from going to the next grade level or finishing up high school. But how was it at your time? Were you expected to take that many regions or?
Yes, Regents exams were very important back then, depending. Now, you had your choice. You didn't, when I was in high school, again, I went to high school in a different district, but my father was very, I was the firstborn. I was going to be the example, so I was going to take Regents exams. And it was a struggle for me.
Okay.
You know, we had the opportunity back in the 80s where for math and for science, you can pass, you can graduate with a Regents diploma, but you only had to take 2 years of math and 2 years of science.
Okay.
These were my worst subjects. My father was very diligent and was like, no, you're going to take all 4. So I excelled in, English and all of the social studies courses and economics and all of that. And those were required 4-year for Regents. I think I would have done much better than being literally out of 300 something students in my graduating class. I literally was like 151. I was like right in the middle. But that's because I had to take chemistry and physics. And with Regents, I passed the biology class in 9th grade or in 10th grade, but I didn't pass the exam. So I had to retake the exam. And there wasn't a summer school option. You had to take, when you're in chemistry, you have to take chemistry lab, the chemistry exam, and pass the biology exam. Because if you didn't pass it, you can't graduate the Regents. So I took that biology exam all the way up until my senior year. I was in physics taking a biology exam. So the Regents, I say all that to say it was frustrating then. It was very frustrating then. And, obviously we've customized Regents a little more. We've made it more accessible. We've changed how we do, BOCES as opposed to the innovative schools that the district has now. Each high school has a CTE, a career technology education track. And we kind of got away from a BOCES model, which is very strong and powerful in other districts. So the Regents for me was an issue because I had a problem with the district that I represent, which is, there's up to 80 languages on paper. That's the number of languages that are spoken, just Lafayette International alone.
Oh yeah, Lafayette is diverse.
Right. So Lafayette International became Lafayette International. It was previously Lafayette
And you went to
Central.
Grover too.
I went to Grover.
diverse
Grover
as well?
Cleveland is now International Prep.
Wow.
And we changed those names. I say we. I didn't personally change them, but I mean, you just have to move with the demographic in that community. And when everybody had moved out the way back to that point, it left all of those buildings and whatnot open for, resettlement agencies and to be able to bring people in. And I think it's beautiful that we have such a diverse community. Like our zip code mine, because I reside in the West Side in the 14213. Our zip code is compared to Detroit in diversity. That's a city. We're a zip code, So I feel that the Regents exams are almost unfair when it comes to expecting people from other cultures and other countries to come in and not only grasp the English language and the experience and the culture, because now you're in it, and now they have to pass this Regents exam that is hard for the rest of us. So when it comes to like curriculum, I've been very adamant in fairness, But you also have to realize Buffalo doesn't change the rules for state and federal regulation. Guidelines come from the state and federal on, with our special education needs. If people don't know, taxpayers and property tax does not pay Buffalo Public Schools for Buffalo Public Schools. We are funded through the Big Five, which is state and federal funding. So 90 plus percent, 91, 92% comes from state dollars and the rest come from federal, which as you all know, by now, folks should know. And if they don't, please research that our administration currently is trying to cut that and programs are being cut. So one of the goals I would like to see moving forward is this new superintendent who we've brought on, who I'm very proud that we unanimously made that decision. I don't even know why I attempted that big word right now. Trick or treating with the kids last night. I'm a little,
but before we even go farther to that point, but I want to ask you, because you've been in the school board for some time now.
Yeah, 9 years.
What do you see as the primary role of a school board member?
So when you first get on, you think you can change the world because your community voted you in, so you are supposed to change the world, make everything better, single-handedly. Not the case. You are literally one of 9. You cannot make decisions on your own. You can be the president of the school board, and the most you can do is just get loud and state your opinion because you have the gavel and the mic. But there's the role of a school board member is to come together with your fellow colleagues and make sure that you, number one, handle the fiduciary, which is $1 billion budget a year, and that is with a B. It's double the size of the cities. And we are not resourced as the Board of Education to really handle that the way folks are. A councilman will have staff, they have that role. We do not. We aren't paid enough to make it a full-time gig. So I run a restaurant during the day, and being on the school board, our job is to make sure that the superintendent is resourced and able to bring funds and programs and all of the above equitably throughout the district. That's the number one issue in our district, and my concern is we're not equitably doing resource allocation, but it's not because this particular board hasn't tried. So we did pass an equity resolution where all decisions, no matter who makes them, is to be seen through an equity lens. And we hold that strong. We've, in the history of Buffalo schools, and I say this all the time, if someone knows different, please correct me, but the Board of Education has never been trained in governance in a real way. And we, everybody can see and know that we are not exactly having coffee at each other's houses all the time. There's some tension, but we did the right thing, unanimously choosing to go into training, and we've done that. It's going on 2.5 years now that we've been trained to recognize that we can't change anything. We're not the boots on the ground. We don't see the problems on a daily, but we are the liaisons and the communication to the community. So our role is to resource the district, hold the superintendent accountable, choose who our superintendent is, and make sure we bring community concerns to that superintendent, and then help whatever they need. They tell us, look, that doesn't make sense. We can say, 15 people came to me about this, this, and this. You have to change it. Well, if it's state and federally, regulated, which we don't know off the top of our heads, maybe it can't be changed. So I can't make that particular person happy, but I have to be real with those people. I've lost relationships. I voted for you. Why can't you do this? That's not how this works. So
I like how you're very transparent in the way, because we've never heard this before. We've never heard of how things are handled in school boards. Sometimes that's the thing with just other things that goes on in the country itself. You know, you get to vote people in certain positions, but there's people who are actually on top of them that make all the calls. You know, they're just there to be your voices. You know, to be your voices, and that's one thing that we always seek from the people that we get to vote for to be in those positions. And also, you going into school board, you probably had your top priorities. You know, you probably had things that you wanted to focus on. If you could just highlight those three priorities that you focused on and you're still trying to focus on going forward, what would those be?
Well, mine is it's definitely, and I'm over the moon that you said the transparency because that is a goal of mine. Communication and transparency needs to happen on a better level on all levels, right? And it starts with us. When you look at the chart of how this works, it is the Board of Education, then the superintendent, and everybody under them. So, but it's kind of weird how that works because we cannot make the day-to-day decisions. That's
Yeah.
the management job. That's the superintendent's job. So I feel like there's been bottlenecks. So communication transparency is real. Another platform of mine is the whole child approach. And for me, I like to focus on our music, arts, and athletics components. If it wasn't for sports
Yeah.
in high school for me, I probably wouldn't have passed because I knew I had to maintain a certain average in order to play sports, right? My children, my one daughter is a teacher. She graduated valedictorian, but she played four sports. And she chose, it wasn't me like, you have to, you have to. I gave her the autonomy to choose what she wants to do in her, but keep your academics up. But the opportunities within sports helped her morale in school. And I think that went hand in hand. And that's just personal experience. Music and how, our students, we're the third most impoverished city in this country, last I checked. I know we're in the top five, but I say three because what I heard, that's the last I checked. And we need our students who are dealing with such, there's trauma in the homes. There's different situations that our kids are going through.
Yeah.
And then they come to school and then they're, it's almost like sit, stand, sit, go here, go there. To have music, to have arts, to have that outlet helps open up their minds and give them something that they appreciate and that helps them in the classroom. So I have always had that as a platform and I continue to do so. And then I really, and this isn't ranking, I was able to witness firsthand with my son that we have a lot that we have to contend with when it comes to special education and the needs of our students who, there's so many realms of that. And I don't even like to classify, but we just need to do better. We're the second largest district in the state.
Oh yeah, Buffalo is. I mean, Buffalo is the second biggest city in New York State.
You're right, right.
So,
So going
you're
to
right.
Albany, we have a superintendent's day where we lobby, the state to make change. Much of our special education and our special needs resources are dictated by state and federal guidelines. So we can't just change how we do things on a local level with majority of what we deal with. And I feel that we need to go in busloads to Albany, not just once a year, 3, 4, 5 times a year, and make sure that the governor, no matter who it is, knows that we are facing struggle and our students are. I'm not saying all students are suffering because we definitely have raised the bar in how we do things.
Right.
We as a district have concentrated on this, but we still have our hands tied with a lot of how we, see our students. Do they belong in this class or this class? What is the overlap? It's not an individual case basis like it should be because we're told to make it, a general, broad paintbrush scope of how we bring children into self-contained classrooms, 8-to-1 classrooms, things like that.
Speaking of the governor, would you say Governor Kathy have been working fairly with you guys? because I know she's the governor right now, and you guys, making that decision to go to Albany and lobbying and stuff like that. Would you say like she have been doing stuff for the schools? Because I've heard that she's given out a lot of resources and funding to a lot of different organizations. So for the Buffalo Public Schools, have that been like her also number one priority?
I feel like we all take advantage or for granted the fact that Governor Kathy Hochul is from Western New York.
She's from Western New York.
Yes, and
Wow.
she, we just assume, and this is my personal take. I definitely will not speak for the district because I'm not. I ain't getting in that mix. But you can't speak for the board. I'm not. I'm speaking for me. I feel as though we haven't pushed strongly, and this is why I'm encouraging the new superintendent. If God willing, I maintain this position come 3-4 days from now. We consistently put her feet to the fire, any governor's feet to the fire around what we're dealing with in Buffalo. And I believe that it's on both sides. She does do a lot for the district. A lot of it is regulated that she does do a lot, but we respect her. I respect her. The cell phone policy, we had to tell how many students, like, you're going to have to put your phone up when you come into
Oh.
school, and you can't use it again. You can't even look at it until the end of the day. That was brought down from the governor. So
I
we
went to
had to
MST.
comply.
I went to MST. They have this box that students have to put their cell phones in when
Yep.
they're in gym. Is that like in
It's
every
a
school now?
it's a statewide mandate.
Wow.
So we had to follow it. And I don't even know how to put it. I'm shocked. I'm over the moon. I know how my son is with his phone. And he's like, yeah, it's what you got to do. Whatever. We have taken for granted also that our students, if they're told to do something, a lot of them will do it. We take into account that, everybody's going to hate this. We're going to have to fight and blah, blah, blah. And we put all these systems in place expecting the worst, which sometimes you kind of have to, so you're prepared. But I think we're all pleasantly surprised that this went over pretty well. We're not hearing, as a Board of Education, you get people who are upset, but the overwhelming response is it's what we got to do. And that was because we respected there are districts who have pushed back on Governor Hochul's mandate, but we didn't. And again, second largest district in the state. So we do have a respect factor, and she does do right by Buffalo. But I don't feel like we as Buffalo are pushing the envelope and making sure that we need to do more. And, I have no problem putting that out there.
Yeah, most definitely. And wow, I really like that they're putting the cell phones away. The reason why is because you're right. Even my little siblings, my little sister, like, she's addicted to her phone. But her being on the phone in class and all of that, that results into them not even paying attention to the teacher. The teachers come to school to teach you, and a lot of teachers, I feel as if they feel disrespected when they're teaching, and one kid, their head is down on the cell phone. So that also, really helps a lot of the teachers. I want to ask you a few questions here also, because you're fighting for the students, you're fighting for families, because those are the people that do matter the most, let's say, in this school board organization, because those are the people that you guys look to help on a daily basis. You growing up, like you said, your father pushed you back, held you back a grade and stuff like that because of just the academic from Angola and to here was completely different. But like, how do you plan to improve academic performance across all schools? Because I know, like you said, you don't make the laws, but you go out there and speak for the students and the families. But like, how do you plan on doing that?
So what I have been doing and what I do not plan to change is listen to all the stakeholders. I'm currently doing a listening tour with my schools and have done this, a few years since I've been on where I take time with the admin and speak to them and ask them to please give me what your issues are. Do not worry about retaliation or none of that, and make sure the district knows this is how I get the job done. I don't have secret conversations. You'll hear, but I want them to be forthcoming. And then I also, this is where you can brag about your school.
Right.
Tell me what you're doing great at. Where, what do you think you do different, so we can use that as an example throughout the district. I also ask that they choose, a student for me to talk to, and that student chooses two or three other students, so that it's not just the admin bringing me, their top student and stellar student. When a board member asks for something, it's unfortunate, it's good, it's whatever. It's struggling when I have so much family in the community, because it's like the dog and pony show and you roll out the red carpet. But my district knows, especially the principals who have been in place for a while. I don't need all that. I just want to know the real deal. So that's why I want students to bring other students. And I'm going to give you, these are the top 6 issues that we're dealing with in the district. You choose one to speak on, and then you have an opportunity to tell me anything else that might be bothering you. But you also got to tell me what you like about your school and what's the legacy you want to leave. And so just listening to the students, I want teachers in the room. And that's how you get just feedback that's structured. But for me, what I'm hearing is it's not just the curriculum. Again, it's that whole child approach. A lot of our curriculum is mandated or has to be because it's a state and federal regulation. And again, being part of the Big Five, if we're funded by state and federal, you kind of have your hands tied as to where you go with it.
Yeah.
And our district has done a great job of bringing other departments to the forefront. Sometimes you don't want to discuss it because those departments are targeted too. And, we do a good job of pushing the envelope and bringing, real history to the table. I'm encouraging that. I'm encouraging that we continue to do that. I'm encouraging for our teachers, the rhetoric is this teacher is this or this teacher is that. In a corporation, middle management isn't the reason for a company to go down. And teachers are in front of our kids, and our kids are in front of those teachers. Yeah. So we as a district and our admin are responsible for what those teachers do. If you have a teacher who's really, has a history of being a little bit ick, you got to do something about that. Yep. Why are they still there? I've been told I'm a union goon. I'm this and I'm that. I'm supported. I'm endorsed by unions. I'm supported by the teachers union. No, I'm supported because I advocate for our teachers to have the resources that they need for the students that are in their class. And now I have 3 grandchildren and a child and one daughter who is a teacher. So I'm gonna fight for mine like a bulldog.
That's it. And I like the point about the teachers, because you want teachers who are willing, who are excited to be there.
Right.
Because that helps the students also learn, because the school, you don't want the school to feel like a job that you hate. Right. You want to be able to go there every day excited to meet that cool teacher, because I used to have some teachers that would go to school and, hey, Glory, like we have like they're like my big brothers, or they're like my parents in the school, because that's just the way they looked at me. And it made me feel comfortable coming there every single day, because I was like, man, like this person enjoys their job. If I'm slacking on an assignment, I know that teacher's going to look out for me and tell me like, hey, you need to do your assignment, but I'm going to give you maybe 1 day to finish it.
Right, exactly.
So you need people that are going to be in those positions to just have that kind of mentality. And also, I want to get back to speaking on, you mentioned there's 2 different international schools. I mean, even Riverside, I could say is an international, because it's so diverse.
It's so diverse.
Riverside and all of that. But like for those students, who are struggling in English, let's say the ESL students and the newcomers in the Buffalo community, we spoke about the Regents exams being one of the major issues. But like, how do you think should the school board be able to assist them? Because a lot of them want to finish high school because it's one of the major requirements in communities. In my family, if I wasn't gonna finish high school, I mean, I was a good student, I had good grades and everything. But like, let's say, for example, if I wasn't gonna finish high school, I was gonna be like a disgrace to my parents, because
Right.
that's the community that I'm from. But how should they help the students when it comes to that?
So part of that, not just listening to her in that structured space, but being a part of like the community itself. Someone who helped build, something like the Grand Street Neighborhood Center and working with youth on a whole nother level, being trusted in different communities. Um, it isn't just because I'm going to seek out all the communities that are different so I can say I did. There's a difference between performative and getting the job done. And for me, it was very important that we reached out to communities, especially in the West District, around the different tracks. I was part of adopting the innovative schools model,
Yeah.
one of 9, of course. We can't do anything ourselves, but having schools that also have career tracks. We know that if you go to Burgard, you can get into mechanics, being car mechanic, whatever. We know Emerson is now there's 2 Emersons, and our original is culinary. And then we have hotel restaurant management and management opportunities in Emerson too. Hutch Tech has always been engineering. City Honors obviously is folks that want to excel.
Yeah.
So we know that there are career tracks on top of your typical college, you know, everybody go to college. Everybody go to college. We understand just listening to community that sometimes that might not be based on, your makeup at home. You might be, I have 10-year-olds who are translators for their families. So making sure that we have now the multilingual department that has grown so much. We recognize and translate, what is humanly, physically possible. 12 languages are translated, both on paper and on the website. And we make sure people know they can access their language. There isn't just, and if you're from the West Side, there's pockets, 10, 15, 25 block pockets of cultures, right? And those cultures, I had gotten a real slap in the face as the organizing director pushed when I thought you bring all the Burmese together and everybody and we can all, and there, it took 2 leaders from the Burmese community and it's like, do you know we're fighting right now in our country? That there's 6 different dialects, 7 different, and we don't all get along. And I'm like, yeah, but you live. Well, that's where our community is. At least we understand each other. We know our values. And it's like, huh. So for people to clump cultures, and I learned that in like 2014, 15, way before I became a board member. And I was like, okay, I have to be very diligent around whoever I'm talking to. Where are you from? Who do you resonate with the leaders in these communities? If you go on Grant Street, you have so many Sudanese. You have all these different cultures, mostly from Africa.
Yeah, Grand
and that
Street.
nation.
Yeah.
But do they all understand each other? Do they all get along? Sometimes no. So who do you talk to from each one of those groups to see if there's a possibility for people to come together on their own so we can create a better West Side together? I talk about how we had a lot of Italians. You still have a lot of older Italians here. We also have a pretty large Hispanic community in the Lower West Side. You go by Bremen and 16th Street and the whole 9, and you have Nepali, you have Burmese, you have Karen. And I would like for people to focus in on those individual communities because that's all that people are looking for is to be recognized so that their skill sets can come to the table. What we lose in the West Side is, just food alone. Food speaks volumes. There's different types of food. There's different.
Let's talk about the West Side Bazaar.
The West Side Bazaar, like we helped to really stretch that out, and There's so many folks that come from that restaurant kind of pilot, and now they have their own. How are we promoting those people? Because they went through the process. And I will say that education is a struggle, yes, for sure. But I do want to point out that in my district, and I believe in others that have these larger diverse populations, you see many people who are the valedictorians and the salutatorians who have only been in this country 5, 6 years, but they recognize the opportunity. They might have the background, like you had said you had, where your family, you know, sees this as something that they, want to instill in you. For whatever reason, we need, to recognize that we do have some folks who are excelling, and how can they be communicators within their own cultures to help us help them.
Yeah, most definitely. And I want to talk about something very important that I feel like a lot of people tend to highlight in our community is the mental health and safety of the students. That is something that a lot of parents are willing to, they're pushing for. Like, how can you help our kids in terms of like safety? How can you help our kids in terms of like mental health? Because not just parents too, but like a lot of kids, just to look at it, a lot of kids are coming from unhappy families. They're coming from broken homes, and they wake up every day to take a school bus to go to school. And a lot of times you don't even know what that kid is going through when they're in that classroom or in the hallway. But like, when we're speaking about safety and mental health, what steps will you take? I know, as being the voice, in order to help and ensure that schools are safe environments for all students.
Well, this is something that is living, breathing work that we're doing. When we first came on the board, I say we because the board kind of flipped course in 2016. We had a $1.4 billion reconstruction project that made all the buildings look fantastic on the outside. Wasn't much put in the inside as far as resources go. It's an awful lot of money. So we started focusing, again, that whole child approach encompasses so much. It's not just my focus, which is music, arts, and athletics. It's also the focus of social emotional wellness and well-being. The real efforts that we have taken to make our Saturday academies and community schools grow, because those are hubs for our communities. Yeah. We're a district of choice. You can live on one side of town, go to school on the other, but we have community schools in all neighborhoods where you can just walk to. And there's resources, financial, legal, social, emotional resources. We have the Say Yes program that's embedded in all our schools. And they're known for helping to get into college, but they also participate and we have counselors in majority of our schools. We had it's rare, as much as people like to say that, only like to say, and sometimes it's true. We don't get along as a board, but we unanimously vote on a lot. We'll battle it out and do that. This particular budget was a little, it was a 5-3 vote on one of the three, because social workers were going to be cut and have been cut for, not just one particular program, but for programs that, in my eyes, are not back burner programs, but they're not as important as the social work. That's when the adults in the room can't get it together. One of the things we've learned with training is, student outcomes don't change unless adult behaviors change. And I'm part of that process. I am that one of 9, so I don't just want to brag about what we've done, but I also want to own that, my voice was not loud enough because the vote wasn't unanimous. And how do we get there? So there's work to be done as far as social emotional goes. We've definitely, if you look at the work of, creating the parent centers, there's 4 parent centers in this district, Lafayette High School, Bennett High School, East and South Park. and those are very well resourced. People can come in at any time during the day, and they have all of the, not just information here, take a piece of paper, this is the number you call,
Mm,
but there's people who can help with that.
right.
We have parent engagement liaisons in our schools whose job it is to make sure if anybody comes in those buildings, they work with them to make sure that they have any resource or they can connect. Um, we're looking to get more attendance teachers, and we're looking to make sure, like our students who get on these buses and come to school, what about the ones who aren't coming? Is the trauma severe enough that they just don't come to school? Or when I ask the students, when I talk to them, when it comes to attendance, a lot of high school students are like they have to put their brother or their sister on the bus. Then they miss the bus. Then they get detention. There's nothing, it's not on them, you know? So the struggle is real. We're consistently working on it. But I think the difference from now to back then and moving into the future is we don't take our eye off of it.
Yeah.
We've
And
definitely peeled back. The onion is bigger than this city as far as I'm concerned, but we've been peeling back the layers for quite a while now.
it's a lot of it's a lot of skin to take off the onion.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's been happening.
Most
And when
definitely.
people say things like Buffalo schools aren't doing this and aren't doing that, to me, and I say it all the time, you don't have to always be like a leader, but don't be a follower and just listen to rhetoric and then run around and spew that. If you haven't done the research or you don't talk to people who are talking about other people to find out if something's true,
Mm,
then you're just taking someone else's opinion. You're not even using your own. So I encourage people who have this mindset that, Buffalo schools are so horrible or Buffalo schools are this or that, or they keep bringing up the past. Look at the present, do some research, and see that some things probably have changed for
yeah,
the
I mean, I'm
better.
not gonna lie. When I was in school, I feel like it was good. It was good for me.
What school
Yeah.
did you go to?
I went to Hutch Tech for
Okay.
high school, and for middle school, I went to Elementary School of Technology on Hickory Street, I believe. Yeah, somewhere
Okay.
downtown. But yeah, I mean, it was good for me. I'd say I really didn't see anything at all, and I feel like you said, it's about doing the research because I was just going to school. I never really researched anything. I was just going to school. Everything seemed so nice to me, you
Well,
know.
I will say Hutch Tech is one of the schools that still has the same kind of criteria.
Mm,
I took the entrance exam to go into Hutch Tech and did not pass. Fantastic teacher recommendations because you need those too.
yeah.
So those are still what you need to get into those schools and to know that, whether it's an older model, newer schools that have a different approach, we all have to get to the same level to be funded the way that we're funded. We have to get even better to be funded better.
Right.
There's no getting around it. So kind of when you said Hutch Tech, I'm like, oh, okay, that's one of the
Yeah.
buildings that still maintain that.
Yeah, hashtag man, Tectonian. I want to ask you this last question that I have for you here is you spoke about something very important when we first began was community engagement and transparency. Because that is one thing that people need also because not everybody is tech savvy to do research,
Mhm.
and I don't think people nowadays are still reading newspapers as they used to.
Right.
But like, in what ways will you kind of like go out there and speak to the people, to the families and the community? Are you gonna be doing like any community gatherings throughout like the West Side to get the people involved? So, you can get to sit down with them and actually let them know exactly your plans and things that you're trying to accomplish
Oh,
throughout your
sure.
next term.
So on the what I have done is I do this backpack giveaway Labor Day weekend where I bring community to the table. I've alternated to all of the elementary schools. God willing, I'll be able to put School 30 on that map. But that's like the big community event. It's not just a backpack giveaway. We have different vendors who come. It could be that you ride a bike and create a fruit smoothie and take it with you. We've had chiropractors come. We've had, all different. We give away books and food and all these things. So it's a way that the community can come together, not just in that particular neighborhood, but it's a highlighted event. I work with the Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization and 1199's Healthcare Education Project. So that's ongoing in one forum, so to speak. I've had teacher student forums where you come in and the students will facilitate the questions, the teachers will facilitate, then they'll come together and see whether or not what each of them are bringing to the table resonates and how can they work on it. As a board member, it's my job to facilitate their conversation so they can hear each other.
Right.
But I think the biggest thing for me is my lived experience. Again, as an organizing director and as a mom at the time, well before this becoming, I didn't even know what it took to be a school board member, but they were looking to close down 4 of our schools and turn them over either to mayoral control or, they were going to close Lafayette, they were going to close East, they were close, big schools that because they didn't have city honors or criteria or an entrance exam or any of those things, we're just going to close them down. And Push didn't work on education. Citizen Action did then. So I kind of, told Push, we have parents, we have caregivers, we have people who resonate with this. I want to team up with Citizen Action. So we were bringing hundreds of people to the board meetings. And I actually, some of the folks we talked about that we know were loud voices because they were younger at the time. And they were able to say, like, this can't happen. So we ended up keeping those schools open, which was a huge victory. But at the same time, I had kids in the district. So I was coming, if you Google Jen Mecozzi, you'll see me at the podium with my Push hoodie on, like, but when you have that type of power, not as an individual, but the community came together and changed, the fact that our voices matter. Then, I all of a sudden got for 2 weeks, you should be on the board. You should be on the board.
Right.
And as an organizer, I recognize the effort. I got on Facebook. I was like, whoever wants me to be on the board, like, show yourself. Big girl likes lunch. What is this?
Right.
And I got a call and meet me at Fat Bob's. And like, you should be on the school board. I'm like, I can go to college. So like I'm that example of like a community voice because I didn't know that you didn't need a college degree to hold an elected position. I'm like, I'm a single mom. I work in a restaurant. I smell like feta all day long. Like, how is that going to resonate? Like, doesn't matter. We will support you. And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
I still work at that damn restaurant.
And then you're still managing the two. You're still in school
managing
board.
the restaurant. But when you have community voice, it's necessary.
Yeah.
And a lot of times now that, everybody's like, oh, she's community. You get on that board. And in the first month and a half, I was chewing on my own kneecap because I had to put my foot in my mouth. I'm organizing people to say this, and this, and to see this point of view and to do research. But we were all not in the wrong because it was the district's fault for not communicating that work was really starting to happen. But we weren't brought to the table, but we just went out there and hammered them for it, not knowing them that they were working on it. Yeah. So I've had to really eat crow and be on this board and, again, lose relationships because now I'm not fist in the air as I was as much back then because I'm realizing there has to be a compromise, and I'm trying to be that voice. Our skill sets as individuals are not really highlighted on the board. They haven't been encouraged. And, it's for whatever reason. So again, God willing, I keep this position. I will be the longest running board member with experience pre-COVID, pre all of that, plus what we've done in between and all of the programs we brought to the table. And I would really encourage, leadership and, hopefully I might end up in that position because we vote ourselves in to leadership positions as colleagues, and I'm not super popular with a lot of colleagues, so you haven't seen me in a leadership position in some time.
Right.
And that's not because I'm not powerful enough. No, I just want to put that out there. That's
Mm.
where I'm going to lead at.
Most definitely.
But we need to showcase and highlight and bring to our superintendent all of our skill sets. We are such a plethora of, currently we have a child psychologist, we have a lawyer, we have folks that work in community, we have a real estate broker, we have people who work in such different spaces and places. And if we were to encourage our superintendent to, just see us for what we bring to the table, then maybe we would be able to move some work forward in different aspects, in business, in community, in, not just education, because we span all aspects of our community. So
Yeah.
that's my goal, is to make sure we recognize each other for the greatness that we are. So we're sitting there, people trusted us. So instead of like, I've got this because they trusted me and I'm going to show you how it's done. It's like, no, this is what I personally bring to the table. This is what my community brings. This is what they represent. And Dr. Mubenga, how can this help you?
Right.
It's not, this is what you're going to do because I said so. And that's kind of how the board was going before we took our training. Now it's, you're the boots on the ground. How can all of this help you?
That's it. So you guys become more like of his cabin. So to all my guests, I always want to ask this question. We're all humans. We all go through a lot of trials and tribulations, but we always find a way to overcome them. And we all have different ways of doing that. For you yourself, what message do you have, not just for the youth, but for everyone in general, on how to stay consistent, how to stay resilient, and to never give up on their dreams no matter what anybody tells you?
I might have touched on it already. Like, you don't have to be the cookie cutter person that's supposed to be in positions, right? I still live paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? It's not always about financial. It's about work with the people who work with you, and just be true to yourself.
Right.
For me, I was a leader before I even knew what that meant. I'm the oldest in my family. As far as the children go, and I'm the one that's always organizing the barbecue and always organizing, how folks can, see each other and what resonates. I'll become a mediator in a heartbeat.
Right.
And but I'm also a high-spirited person who many folks, including the folks we have mentioned before, would be like, yeah, you're going to have to learn how to calm her down because I'll get pretty animated. But I think for me, it's, you don't need to listen to everybody's narrative of you or people like you. If you don't have a college degree, you can hold an elected position. If you don't, you don't need 38 letters behind your name. But you also need to encourage yourself. If that's what you want to do it. I literally am looking into taking college classes, not because people said I didn't have it, so I should. I'm 54, I shouldn't care about that. But I'm like, no, I want to experience that. I want to see if my school, if I still dislike school as much as I did in high school.
Most definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, I just want people to be real. I have a lot of relationships across the board. I know some of them are just, they smile in my face and they say, hey, how you doing? But they know they need to. They can't just walk away because I've never done anything to disrespect them. But they've heard this, that, or the other about me. And I can't resonate it with them. And then when they meet me for me, people get mad. I'm in a relationship with people all over the place. And I recognize I'm old enough and I'm not naive. I know some people who are just talking to me just to talk, but you're going to talk to me because I'm going to make sure I'm going to reach out to you. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. I'm part of a national organization. It's called Local Progress. We're progressive elected officials across the country. And I've been on this. I'm the co-chair of the organizing committee for New York State. And and it's the confidence I've built within myself by recognizing that I can be myself. I don't have to put on a face. And, we were 4 or 5 school board members deep in 2017. And why are we only this many? What are we doing? And I helped to build the school board cohort that's now almost 500 school board members across the district. And we work with each other to see, what resonates, whether you're rural, whether you're suburban, red or blue, all these issues come
You gotta
up.
come together. That's
Yeah,
it.
so,
Yeah.
just be yourself, be genuine. And if you know you can't be yourself because it ain't going to look right, check yourself and
Check
find out,
yourself.
wow.
There's something wrong.
Yeah, check yourself. You might have a little, you might need somebody to give you a little counseling.
Most
Help you out.
definitely. But yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Jennifer. It was a pleasure having you on the show. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And guys, election. I think today is the last day of early.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the last
Yeah.
day of early voting. And
I'm literally going to change clothes,
and
grab my
November
sign,
4th,
and go in
make
front
sure,
of it.
make sure and vote, man. Make sure and vote. Make the right decision because your voices also matters. But once again, thank you so much. This is East Bench Podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Until next time. Bye.